great. So that's the 6 of us then.
So we're talking today. Obviously, we don't have to go forward with it tomorrow, but I'm planning to meet Ann and Michael Crosby tomorrow at our office in the afternoon around 4 o'clock. And, we haven't discussed any terms or thrown out there what we're looking for yet. This phone call today maybe to kind of shore that up and put a fine point on it. But at the end of the day, we're going to know a lot more after that conversation tomorrow and see where Ann's mind's at. And, Mr. Crosby, he's a lawyer down here with a interesting reputation. So he may very well advise her that we need to wrap this up and it's going to require some consideration on her part, or she may take his advice, or he may say, no, you don't need to do that, or Ann just might not listen to anybody. But I think at the end of the day, she needs to delete her social media, all the stuff pertaining to the HOA and the stuff pertaining to Kelly. She needs to drop all these criminal allegations. Those don't need to go forward. And then maybe we can talk about from there. And she needs to pay the $30,000 in fines that have been assessed against her. But anything beyond that, some sort of compensation to be paid to the contractor and Kelly and everything like that, we can feel them out. But at this point, I don't know where she would be at with that, and I don't want to speculate. But I will say I have talked to Al, the head partner here at the firm, and just as a general matter, when you file a complaint, you never put in there a specific amount. You never say, I want $200,000, or I want, in this case, $4.5 million, because that locks you into a number, and you never want to do that. And that's not really how court works. You sort of get through the liability part. Okay, are they liable? And then you have a whole separate proceeding on damages, on what the damages are. And it's a very quick way to get yourself in trouble with the court by saying $4.5 million, and then you can't prove anywhere near $4.5 million. We may be able to in this case, but I don't personally think we will. And based on testimony alone, that's really what we would have, and then some posts that she made. So I'm happy to, of course, proceed forward with the suit, but Al has said, and y'all want to talk to him about this in more detail. We're not going to put in there an amount, whether it's 4.5 or 2 or $200. You don't put an amount in any complaint you would file.
Okay.
So I understand.
Now here, this is Kim Demetz here. I have a question for you, Matthew. First thing is you gave us some options. So I want to know if we go with option 1 and the HOA defamation lawsuit against Ann. If there's compensation, can that be assigned to individuals?
It would have to be paid to the board.
And then the board can send it to the... Okay, and if we do that, if we do the board sue defamation to Ann, and based on what you know, is that a stronger case than to have Dr. Nation and the board sue defamation? Which way is stronger?
1 second. How strong the case is at this point, I would need to see more by way of damages. Another thing is that after kind of researching it some more, Dr. Nations, what has been said about her in her capacity as a medical provider has nothing to do with her position on the board. And so if we would sue, I'm starting to think at this point we couldn't sue all in one action. Right. There has to be a separate action filed by Kelly for the damages relating to the slander of her medical professionalism as a medical provider.
Correct.
Because that has no relation whatsoever to Ann's statements made about the board.
Correct. Okay.
So the third option, it sounds like, is what we would have to do if we did go forward with it. There'd be one suit for the HOA and another suit for Kelly.
So
Well, let me just ask you this. The fact that her slander about me, stealing the pavers, the HOA, and her saying that she hated the fact that I am the one that moved in and all that other stuff. That part is directly related to my position on the board of the HOA.
Yeah, on behalf of the HOA, we would sue, and we would just say these individual members of the board, these things were said about them.
Would Ben be included in that as well? I mean, or not?
Ben,
separate.
What is Ben's acquisition?
Ben Taylor is he's not part of the board. Yeah. He's a hired security guard that we've been using for certain events. The thing about it is that she filed a criminal charge against him for trespassing, which is not true, of course. But the thing is, she posts his name, she talks about him in Facebook, posts his picture on there. So that's damaging to him because he's a security guard. That's his business, right? So to have his picture out there and social media and have a criminal charge against him is a big deal too. But I don't know how much he has.
That depends on if the charge is dropped, then it doesn't go anywhere. It ends in his favor.
Yeah, but
how the thing with Terry's thing, where that charge ends in her favor.
But you can file a charge against somebody and drop it, but defamation still remains. His face is still out there on social media. She already posted. Thousands of people have reviewed it. Those kind of things are not forgiven just because you drop the charge.
Yeah. But the only way to win a defamation suit is to show that what they said was not true.
Right.
And so how would we show it was not true? To the criminal proceeding. If you found not guilty in the criminal proceeding, then it automatically shows it wasn't true. So before that happens, we wouldn't have any real basis to sue for defamation on his behalf. And I further think it's the same thing with Kelly. If it's affecting his personal business, it has nothing to do with, it doesn't really, it's kind of a outside of direct layer in connection to the board. He's not on the board. He was hired as a sort of independent contractor for the board. I would again say that he would need to initiate his own defamation action that would be collateral to the board.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Matthew, wouldn't what she said about Kelly, since she's disparaging her character and her profession, doesn't that at some point, disparage her role as an HOA board member and her trustworthiness and everything? If she's disparaged her character, I know, it's her, it's her profession, but where is the line? I mean, it just seems like it's a fine line, because I think what Ann was trying to do is just paint her as just like a whatever corrupt board member, and that's my struggle with trying to understand how do we.
So all of that is actionable. All that is actionable if it relates to her position on the board. If he's saying, "Oh, my neighbor's on the board, and my neighbor is a bad person, and the whole board is a bad person," are bad people, then the defamation action would encompass that.
Okay, so from what I'm understanding from you, Matthew, you're saying we have two defamation lawsuits. One, the board to Ann for the board itself and member of the board, and the other one is Kelly to Ann for defamation of her career, her profession. Correct? So I have two different ones. And okay, so we have two of them, but we want to have the payment to you to process this is the board's going to pay for both of them, right? For costs. But we want, when we do this lawsuit, we would like to have recovery of costs from Ann, right? If we win the case, right?
That's in the discretion of the court to award attorney.
Well, we can always ask, but you can always ask, right?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
We always do ask.
Okay, and then let's say at the end of both defamation lawsuit, we get compensation. The board part of the compensation, then the board is allowed to distribute that fund to whoever we want, including Ben Taylor, correct?
Yeah, if that was how the board
Yep.
sees it, that
Okay.
we distribute the money. Wouldn't
Okay.
be any restrictions.
Okay.
But again, and I don't want to. The way you prove these cases is, it's if there's criminal charges that happened and then they were dismissed or someone was found not guilty, then their attorney fees they had to pay to defend themselves on a frivolous charge that ended in their favor are the damages. The other way that the reputational loss, that requires testimony, and you have to have people come in from the community, and this happened. We did this with Carrie's suit against Shandy Burris. We had everybody come in and say, yes, around the McDonald Square community, people were gossiping about Carrie. People were thinking that Carrie was some criminal, and that affected her day-to-day reputation and her character. And so we had people testify about that. And that's assuming we get all the way to trial. I think tomorrow we're just going to have to say, tell Ann, these are the bare minimum things you're going to do.
Yeah.
Number one, you're going to delete everything off social media. You're going to pay this fine. You're going to move out. You're not going to come back. We're going to formally trespass you from the property. So we'll have in writing showing if anytime you ever come back, we can show the police, here you go, look at this piece of paper. She trespassed herself from the property. She's here illegally. Arrest her. Then number four, basically just stop this behavior going forward. And I also would like to see her release and waive any and all claims she has against the board for whether it be negligence or some other tort, for defamation of her own, from just people talking about her. Yeah, she could file something like that, and it wouldn't necessarily get knocked out immediately. It
Right.
would require
What about retracting any statements she's made that are clearly just not true or?
Yeah, it's right. So she would delete all that off social media, and then we would talk about, let's just see what she says to all that. And if she's like, okay, I'll do that. And we're like, all right, so that's the bare minimum. Now,
there's two. Hold on, Matthew. There are two other items, and I want to tie compensation to it. Two is she needs to drop the criminal charge against Ben Taylor. She needs to drop the criminal charge against Cali Nation. We agree on that.
Correct.
But dropping it doesn't mean anything in my perspective. She charged somebody, she dropped it. She needs to pay some compensation for that. Not through the defamation lawsuit. What I'm saying is, what we say to her tomorrow is, you drop this, you put a criminal charge against these two people, faulty criminal charges, we can prove it, you need to pay compensation for this. Not a defamation lawsuit. And I think that's allowed. Can we not ask for that?
Well, there's multiple types of claims that it wouldn't just be one claim for defamation.
Right.
There's a claim for abuse of process, and there's also, you're using the judicial process for an ulterior motive that's improper. So, for slander or something like that. And then there's malicious prosecution. That's another type of claim where you file something that it did not happen, alleging that someone committed a crime. They go out and get arrested, and then the charge ends in that person's favor. They're found not guilty, or just the case is dismissed, or the victim doesn't show up, or they recant their statement, or just whatever, something like that. As long as it doesn't result in a guilty conviction,
right? But
then you sue for that.
But what I'm saying, this is not going to the court yet. This is you discussing with them that and you file two criminal charges against these two people innocent and can be proven wrong. So in order for you need to drop them, but also you need to pay them compensation, and that this is not going through the court. That's
what amount of compensation are y'all? What is the number y'all have?
I'm going to throw it out there, but of course it's up to negotiation. But what I'm saying is compensation for Ben Taylor, a criminal charge against a security guard, is $10,000. A criminal charge against a doctor, Kelly Nations, for theft is $40,000. That's what we like you to throw out there tomorrow.
the basis of that combined $50,000? Was that the amount of bond they had to pay? Did they have to hire lawyers to defend them? What was where are we getting this?
Character is it just mess up with their character, their career, their jobs, or whatever it is. I mean, people can't just go in and say file criminal charge and then I'll take it back with no consequences.
Yeah, but does Ben Taylor now have $10,000 less work that he would have done unless that had happened? Is there $10,000 worth of people that would have hired him as a security guard that are not going to hire him anymore?
But that's impossible to know.
Yeah, how do we know that?
That's what I'm trying to get at. It's impossible. It's a subjective thing. It's completely subjective.
Of course.
Unless you have objective evidence.
Of course. But the thing is, what I'm saying, these two security guard is relying on the public and relying on their character, right? All that. The doctor is a career that relies on the public, relies on their professional character, right? So you can't prove all of that. What I'm saying is, as a lawyer, you go into the meeting tomorrow. This is what you present and say. This is you're affecting their career. How much does it affect? Does it affect today? We can't prove it today, but it's downstream, right? Because both of these specific jobs, career, are dealing with the public, right? So I'm not saying that it is what you're going to get, but as you're sitting there for negotiation, as an attorney, I'm sure you have all the words to come up with, but those are the careers that is public facing and is affecting them because you file false charges against them. How much does it affect their career? Not today. We don't know. How do we measure that? It could affect them a year, 5 years from now too. Who knows? Right?
But that I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Right.
I'm just trying to give y'all an expectation about what Mr. Crosby's going to say. He's
Right.
going to say, well, that's fine, good. You want $10,000 for this, and you want $40,000 for that, but how can you prove that? And then I'm going to have to say, I can't. I can prove it later.
Right.
We need something now.
Well, what if Kelly applies for a promotion once a year and has, I don't know what Kelly, what.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
But if she applies for just an employment promotion, and she's got to be evaluated by we would have to show that somehow the people evaluating her promotion somehow saw this and are affecting their judgment is being affected by this. Is that
Right.
what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, see, another thing too is when you get sued for defamation, abuse of process, malicious prosecution, be a whole flurry of different torts. You're gonna have to hire someone to defend you.
Yeah.
That would cost at least $10,000. So we could say, look,
Yeah.
we can't prove exactly the amount down to the penny.
Right.
How much
Yeah.
this has damaged us, but we know it's going to cost you at least this much
Right.
to defend it.
Yeah.
So how about you pay us that?
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, I think it's part of what we would like you to take in as a negotiation, right? As a punch, right? I mean, I can imagine for Dr. Kelly, nothing happens today, but tomorrow she has somebody coming into the ER. She's giving them a Band-Aid. They look at her and go, oh, you're Dr. Kelly Nation? I saw you on Facebook. I don't want you. I want another doctor. What does that do to her career? You understand? How can we prove that? That's something that easily can happen, right? So
Right.
that's what.
The thing is, it kind of does have to happen first. Unfortunately, in order for us to say, look, here we go. This is where it's affected her career.
What about all of those comments on Facebook like, I'll be sitting on the front porch with a shotgun. I dare her to come over. Oh, she's crazy. She's insane. I'm insane. And they all know I'm a doctor. They've already said it. I've
Yeah.
already been convicted by all these people on Facebook
Right.
that don't necessarily have to be my patient, but they've already, I can tell you right now, these people come in, they're going to say, first thing they're going to say is, I don't want to see her.
Yep.
Yeah,
If they want to kill me with a shotgun, then they definitely don't want me to see them.
that's what we would use to survive the first kill of, okay, do you even have enough to file suit? Yes, we do. We absolutely do. Do we have enough to prove liability and damages for the court to award us stuff? Not without significant work and testimony and going through the normal litigation procedures, which might take a long time. So tomorrow, if Ann is, I'm just sort of talking out loud here. If Ann is saying, okay, look, I'm going to do all these things. I'm happy to pay them something. HOA, but we just need to, come together about what that payment would look like, how much money are we talking about. And that's a pretty good, we've come a long way from where we are today.
Right.
So I think that's what I would like. Those initial, bare minimum terms, if she doesn't agree to one of them, then the deal's lost.
Right. The bare minimum, and I really think that Matthew, that you need to come in with some compensation numbers, right? That we are asking.
Oh, of course.
Come in with it, and come in.
$2,000 is too high.
But you gotta come in high. You're not gonna come in with $200 or $1,000. You gotta come in high to make it significant. Look, a doctor profession is one of the highest profession. You cannot just say, "Oh, give me $1,000, it'll go away." You don't know how it impacts the career.
I'm not saying it needs to be 1,000, but there's multiple ways to negotiate. One, you can do that, what you're saying, you start real high, and then you kind of meet in the middle.
Right.
Or you can just say, look, take it or leave it, 10,000 for both, and we're not going to negotiate with you any further. This is it, and if you aren't willing to pay this, then we're never going to reach a deal, and that puts a lot of pressure on them to take the deal.
Right. But I don't think. I don't think Matthew that you have to come up with tomorrow and say, okay, I agree with this 5,000, 10,000. You don't have to come in to agree right there. You can at least have a little time to consult with us after the meeting, and all right. So what we're saying is go in with the higher number, and you understand I think you understand where we're coming from here. Is that we're not saying today is is damaging their career, but you don't know what tomorrow will bring. These careers are client facing, right?
Well, the thing is though, I don't want to come up with an outlandish number, which would just make us lose all of our credibility and we just look like a joke.
Yeah,
Okay, what if I give you how much money I make a shift? One shift. And the number of times that I've missed work because of her, I've had to reschedule myself. I can get the scheduler. We're looking at $3,000 a shift.
Yeah.
That's one shift. That's a lot. So I'm saying $3,000 a shift.
Yeah, that's very concrete.
You can't argue with that. See, we've got it on. We can say, look, this is our calculation. You can't argue with it.
Yep.
She's missed work because of this. You put her through untold amount of pain and suffering and emotional trauma because of all this. People in the community right here on Facebook are saying horrible things about her. That's worth something.
Yeah.
And so,
what about her? Can we mention personal safety? She felt there was a statement made about her shotgun, and it's she's fears for her personal safety. It's creating anxiety or whatever.
Yeah. Have you gone through any? Again, this is your business, Kelly. I'm not trying to put it all out on the floor for everyone to hear about it. But have you gone to a therapist or anyone like that?
Yeah, I have. I haven't in a couple of months. Been too busy actually, but yes, I have. Okay. I pay cash. I don't. And this is the other thing about being a physician, that you can't put that underneath your insurance, because people don't. If you report that you go to see a therapist, then every year when I get to redo my credentials, they say, "Have you been under medical care? Do you have depression? Have you ever had anxiety?" If you click yes to any of that and you sought care, then all of a sudden now you're under the microscope and you may not even get that job. So I pay.
That's certainly a good. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's really strong. That's very strong. I
pay cash.
She can't even get help. She can't even get, the services she needs to address some of this anxiety, because,
it can make her have a big question mark on her ability to practice medicine.
Yeah, that's a big. That's
and I'm sure that my therapist would be more than happy to, say this is how much she's paid me this year and last year and since the beginning of all this with Ann.
If it came out to it, we would heavily consider getting that from her, maybe just a small narrative that says, during the course of my treatment with Kelly, it says from the cause of anxiety, emotional trauma, etc. But I think another thing we may want to consider is, how about we just settle everything with the HOA board, and we still leave out there as an option these collateral suits against Ann that have nothing to do with the HOA.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Matthew. I don't really want to go. I thought, I was really hoping on January the 14th that I would walk out of that courtroom forever and never have to be drugged through this again. She'll never be able to compensate me for what I know is coming, because it's going to come. 1,000 views of that video in less than a week, and it's still up there. So,
I know it's still up there. Has anybody been able to? It's still up there.
the bottom line is that there's no number. There's $40,000 isn't even going to cut it. So what is it? What is worth my freedom? I mean,
Unfortunately, we can't. You can't do them. You can't go and inflict the same thing on her to get even, because that would we have to, in order for, it's just, that's how we do things in our society, is with money. It's not, it doesn't make people feel good sometimes, because at the end of the day, there really is, you're right, I mean, it really is, it's a principle.
Right.
And it's prejudiced you, and how do you put a number on that? But, for the sake of just resolving things out of court, you do have to just come up with a number. I think we can, if we base it on loosely, your shift schedule and how much you make and your income, and also, then we would have something to go in there with and say, look, if your position is, I can't prove any damage, well, my position is the opposite of that. I can prove some damage, and we will prove some damage. It's just right now, it could be, we don't know what that would be. So, in the interest of resolving this amicably like normal, everyday people, you're just going to have to pay a number that we agree on.
Yeah.
And if it takes a couple days or some time to negotiate that, that's fine. We can put a time limit on it and put a fuse and say, look, if we don't come up with a deal by day, then we will be filing everything we were going to file.
Yeah, the other thing they put on my credentialing packet, not only do they ask a bunch of mental health questions, and if you've ever seen a therapist, but they also ask, have you ever been convicted of a crime? So, have you ever been accused? That's just, it just throws you right out, and all of a sudden, you've got a big X on you, so I've got to get that taken care of. That needs to go away forever,
Yeah, you certainly haven't been convicted of anything, and you won't get convicted of anything.
But what about arrested? It doesn't. If they ask her, has she ever been arrested?
Yeah,
I'm sure there's
it's public.
And I would tell the credentialing administrator, look, you have the presumption of innocence. You're innocent until proven guilty. I was never proven guilty. I was never convicted. So,
yes and no, though, Matthew.
That doesn't work.
In La La Land that works, but when she's got to fill something out and she's got to click yes right there, she's going to take a hit.
Yes.
Whether.
Yes, so, Matthew.
I think that. There has. I don't know. We have to be a little.
When I look at it from their perspective, I think, okay, violent crimes, crimes of dishonesty, fraud, perjury, making a false statement under oath, falsely reporting a crime, lying on your taxes. Those are the things that really disqualify someone from being trustworthy. And then, having a...
That's a no. So what did you put on the line? At a dispute with an HOA member?
Alleged that I was trespassing, and the case was thrown out, and it was dismissed, and I was not...
Okay. All right.
But those things are very hard. Matthew, those things are very hard. And now I'll speak again for Ben Taylor, who's a security guard.
Actually, hey, before you say that, Heather just made a good point. It wasn't for trespassing. She accused me of stealing.
Theft,
so
right.
Larceny. That's a whole nother ballgame.
That's right.
That just 100% throws me right under the bus that I have no character.
Yeah,
Who wants to hire a doctor like that that's been charged of stealing?
Yep.
That just goes from buying...
An allegation of petty larceny This isn't grand larceny. It's not like or embezzlement, like felony embezzlement. You stole money from the hospital or something.
Well, according to the medical crew, they don't know the difference between petty and grand. All they know is, have you been arrested? And that's all they care about. That's all that's been. And so, hopefully, I will retire from Memorial and not have to seek another job. However, that is something that's really, really important from my standpoint, because it is something that I may have to lie about on my. And I don't even want to do that, but I might because you can't check the box.
That's why we put in this, and these personal damages you suffered, and see if we can settle everything. We can't settle that. We shouldn't let that blow this whole deal apart. And
you're right. You're right.
If we have to sue and after we settle everything with HOA for this thing, then we will.
Okay, so
I agree. Just get the money for the HOA, and then if it works out, it works out.
Okay, so you're saying three different category, Matthew. You're saying one for the HOA, paying the $30,000, don't come back, sell your house, all that stuff, and then the other one is Ben and Kelly drop the criminal lawsuit and get compensation, right? And then third, we still need to go through with the defamation lawsuit. At least we want to tell them we want to go through with the defamation lawsuit tomorrow, because what you sent isn't that against the law? She can be put in jail for posting things like that and encouraging violence like that.
Not necessarily. She'd have to be charged with incitement of violence.
Well, the idea is that you're sitting tomorrow as a negotiation. So that's another point that you can bring up, right? You sent the email that says part of, is against Mississippi law to do this and this. So you should point that out and say, this is against Mississippi law to do this and this and this, So we could take the option to also file a defamation lawsuit against you.
But those are criminal statutes I cited. We could go and sign an affidavit and press charges on her for obscene electronic communications or stalking.
I think you should definitely play that card.
Yeah,
the gauntlet down.
I think
you
so.
Go to jail.
What I'm going to tell her is that I'm going to say, look, criminally and civilly, we've got so many different options we can pursue against you. It'll make your head spin.
Yes.
And if some of them are outlined in the letter I sent you, others are not outlined in the letter I sent you. But I can tell you that I've done many malicious prosecution and abusive process claims. We would have fantastic cases against you for that. You would have to come to court, put your money where your mouth is in the criminal case.
Yes.
You'd have to testify under oath. And then I get, all the time in the world to ask you questions and to make it, catch you in a lie on the stand. And then once you lied on the stand, or I can prove you lied on the stand, then you've committed perjury, which is a felony.
Yes.
And they can prosecute you for that.
Yeah.
So, and you really don't want to go down this rabbit hole. It doesn't really end anywhere good.
Yeah.
And I'm fully prepared to do all of that, but I'm out of respect for you as a person, not that you deserve it, but, normal court is for people that can't resolve their differences outside of court.
Right.
The court is only for people who really, it's just so bad and everybody's so miles and miles apart that we have to eventually go to court and get the court to resolve everything. I think we can do that. I think we can do that, and I think you're ready to. I think, you're moving out. Everybody's done with this.
Yeah.
But if we have to keep going, we're certainly willing to do that. And the HOA has no problem paying the attorney's fees in order to accomplish all that.
Correct.
You, on the other hand, I don't know if you have the money you want to spend it on it, then sure. But it will open up Pandora's box for you, and I don't think that's in your best interest.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Crosby is going to agree with me.
Yeah, Matthew. I mean, I think that's the idea of this meeting is we would like you to go in with all the guns of the attorney, right? And also, you want to mention that we have a lot of videos. We have a lot of photos. We are the one where we have a lot of documentations. We have a lot of letters that we sent out. We don't have anything from her that says we say this. We purposely did not say anything to her that can be caught as on the bad side of HOA, okay? So use your lawyer thing and go fight tomorrow. But also mention we have a lot of videos, a lot of pictures, a lot of documentations, all of that stuff,
An entire year's worth.
right?
Yeah, tons. I mean, one last thing. Kim, where are we at with having her? I mean, if one of our requirements is for her to delete the post, are we requiring her to retract any statements she made about Kelly?
Yeah, but
that just weren't true.
yeah, but we will,
Talk about that?
but we will talk about that tomorrow. Matthew will talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, basically, what needs to happen is, Carrie and I need to get in there and have all these discussions that we're having, that I sort of have given you an expectation I will be saying, and then gauge their reaction from there. If they're saying, okay, look, we're ready to write a blank check, just tell us the amount, then we'll obviously, Carrie will be sitting right there with me, and we'll go from there. If they're saying, we're going to do some stuff, but not everything, but we still want to resolve it, then we'll have to have some conversation about that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to. I know y'all just want to be kept in the loop as much as you can, and I want to do that. I'm not trying to dismiss anyone or make it seem like it's not worth my time. Of course, it's worth my time. My time is more important than y'all's, and Carrie and I have been wanting to see this happen for a while. I think it makes us look very credible that we have sort of not jumped the gun and filed all these things against her up until now. We've kind of let this play out for a long time, and now we have a lot of things that we need if we were going to go forward. And I think she knows that. I think she knows this doesn't look good for her going forward. It's in y'all's favor, not in hers.
Yeah, well, I can drop the
That's a great
trespassing
time
charge.
to try to resolve it.
That's one bone we can throw her. I'll drop the trespassing charge, even though we have a video. The other thing is not only if we wanted to use how much money I make in a shift and how many shifts I've lost because of her, and because of her false allegations, there's also the other whole big pile of wax of, and we have a letter from the realtor, how she's talked bad about the HOA. She's interfered with sales. She's interfered with the Airbnb business. How much money is that? I've already lowered my price $20,000. That's half of the 40.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah, so now that I'm hearing things that's all I really wanted, is just to let me hear some of these things that we're going to use to get to that calculation. So when I go in there tomorrow, they're like, well, they clutch their pearls and get all offended and say, where is that number coming from? And I can say, this is where it's coming from, and we can certainly prove that in court if we have to.
Yeah. Well, we've got letters, and the other thing is that, and I know that this is just like preaching to the choir, but in all things in life, when you have your career and you put all your, I'm not really sure what is the worst thing that someone could say about a lawyer, but I can tell you the worst thing you could ever say about a doctor is malpractice. I can't practice for 25 years and never had a malpractice suit, and for her to throw that at me is the absolute lowest, most horrific thing she could potentially do, because it doesn't matter. Your reputation, like what Kim said, is the thing that, drives the world. It drives your life. And I've worked hard, and she has, I know she's damaged it. I don't know how much. I can tell you I did get a email from Doximity, which is one of our medical emails, that said I've had more views in the last 30 days than I've ever had, and now I'm up to the number 2 spot of most viewed profile. Why do you think that? I work nights in the ER. Nobody knows who I am. I'm just a soldier. And now I'm the most viewed Gulfport physician. Wow.
May not be when you hear, but sometimes good publicity there's no
Nah,
thing as bad.
not this case. No, not in this case.
But you're right, Kelly. It has damaged you, and that is a thing we can point to and say, this is kind of weird. Why are all these people now looking at her profile? And right after you, she's going to have to go up for review and licensing and all that. If we have to put on here, on her, when she's going to renew her license, if we have to explain all this to the medical board, then if she does it and she doesn't get relicensed, then guess who we're going to blame for it?
Yeah.
So Matthew.
That point, then we're looking at a lot more than $40,000.
Yes.
We're looking at your annual salary.
So Matthew, that's the reason. This is Kim. This is the last reason why I say $4.5 million. Not that we expect $4.5 million to get, but just so you understand and understand the significance of this, right? So not to say, oh, it's going to go away. There is a significant impact of what she posts and what she say out loud to people. It's very significant. So you got to make a number that's significant.
It has to be significant. I just, as your lawyer, have to caution you and make sure that we navigate this in a way that doesn't open y'all up for, charges of extortion or abuse of process or things like that. Some of these same sort of claims I'm talking about. I mean, you can't tell someone, if you don't pay me, it's technically illegal.
Yeah.
Which is per se abuse of process to say, you owe me money, and if you don't pay it, then I'm going to go press charges on you at the police station, so you better pay up.
No, but
technically extortion.
No, so
technically extortion.
Yeah, so the number is for your benefit. It's for you to understand how important it is to us that you fight this, right?
Of course. Yeah, and we're all on the same page, and we're all on the same page. We all know that justice needs to be achieved here. We just want to make sure it's done right. And then know, and whether it was if somebody let's say we represented someone that got killed, they got run over by a truck or something, even we had to file a lawsuit, we would not put in there, even in that case, where it's so obvious that the person is committed a wrongful act, we wouldn't put in there $100 million or something, because then you're locking yourself into a number, and you just never ever want to do that.
Right.
You never want to do that because it could hurt you. You could get sanctioned by the court. The court could say you have no basis for this number, and so I'm going to award them attorney fees even though you won.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds fine. I think we're all on the same page with you. You're the expert here. You know what you're doing.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm the expert. I'd say I'm following. I'm just trying to make sure y'all are looking at the full picture here, and on both sides, because that's what a lawyer has to do. The lawyer, when he negotiates something, he has to look at it from both sides. And so I'm trying to get y'all to do that. And Al has told me, he said, look, I'll speak to them about this more, but go ahead and tell them that, it's against our advice to put $4.5 million in a complaint, even though it might be that there was $4.5 million worth of damage. Al doesn't allow me to do that, and he can give y'all more explanation on it if y'all want. Carrie, I told her to speak to him about that if she wanted to, but that's been my discussions with him. After researching all of these different claims by everybody that would have, everybody that would have standing to sue Ann.
Well, I think you have plenty of nooses to hang her with. We've given you a lot of
I think
ammo.
there definitely is. So, I just want to make sure we're not hanging ourselves in the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Carrie has a question.
Okay, Matthew,
Yes,
back
ma'am.
when we did the Shanty Burks, and I know she filed that against me for the obscene communication. Okay, what occurs with that court that says that we get to expunge? What does the court have to say? Besides the old judge telling me I'm throwing this out.
We submit a petition for expunction to the municipal court judge, and the prosecutor signs off on it, and then they sign an order where basically they delete mugshots, arrest records, reports,
mine's gone from
anything like that. And if
I did my own.
left,
I sent it. When I did mine, remember I went down there and I filled it out and I gave it to the clerk of the court, and it took them 3 months to get it off the FBI system. But I did follow back with FBI. It was less than 90 days, and it was all. So there is no record of me ever
being arrested or nothing. If I call City Biloxi, nobody has any records. I do have my 2 copies of my expungement. So I give you